After Adam and Eve got kicked out of the garden, they had two sons, Cain and Abel. And brothers usually love each other, though they often fight and get into trouble. When I was 5, my older brother, who was 6 years older than me, had what at the time seemed like a great idea. He led us to go into the neighborhood and shoot out all the lights with our BB guns. And that was great until I got back home and there was my mother standing there. And I don't remember any of the rest of it. I think I blacked it out. But I received grace that day, I guess because I'm still alive. But one of these brothers would need a lot more grace than that. Cain was a type of farmer and Abel was a type of rancher, and one day they both offered a sacrifice. Abel brought from his flocks and Cain brought from the fruit that he had raised. And for some reason, we don't know why, but perhaps due to their hearts, God accepted Abel's sacrifice, but not Cain's. And this made Cain very angry. And God asked him about this. He said, "Cain, why are you angry? If you do what is right, will you not be accepted?" He said, "Sin is crouching at your door." Sin is almost envisioned as a physical force, waiting to get him and to get control of him. And sin often does that. And God said, "You must rule over it and must master it." But Cain ignored God's warning, and he lured his brother Abel out into a field. And when he was in the field, he attacked his brother, and he killed him. Despite Cain's terrible crime, God showed him mercy and grace. First of all, he didn't kill him, although he surely deserved it. And second, when Cain cried out that his punishment was too great, God put a mark on his forehead, warning people that if anyone touched him, they would receive vengeance 7 times over. I'm reminded of the story of Jeffrey Dahmer. Jeffrey Dahmer was a serial murderer in the U.S. that killed at least 17 people and committed even more horrific acts to the victims, if that's possible. And he was convicted in court and received 957 years of imprisonment. He would never get out. But a minister named Roy Ratcliffe decided to show Jeffrey Dahmer grace. And he went and visited him in prison. And he studied with him. He shared the gospel of Jesus Christ with him. And he baptized him into Christ. Shortly after this, Jeffrey Dahmer would be killed in prison. But Roy Ratcliffe preached at his funeral. And he wrote a book about his experience, a book entitled Dark Journey, Deep Grace, the story of Jeffrey Dahmer. And he said this: "Jeff confessed to me his great remorse for his crimes. He wished he could do something for the families of his victims to make it right, but there was nothing that he could do. He turned to God because there was no one else to turn to, but he showed great courage in his daring to ask the question, 'Is heaven for me too?' I think many people are resentful of him for asking that question, but he dared to ask, and he dared to believe the answer." I remember telling the story one time of Jeffrey Dahmer, and there was a woman who said, "Well, if people like Jeffrey Dahmer are in heaven, then I don't want to be there." And with that kind of attitude, maybe she won't be there. But that is the nature of grace. It is almost scandalous in its nature because it is a free gift given to those who do not deserve it. And while we cry out for justice against others, when it comes to us, we want and desperately need God's mercy, His love, and His grace. So let me ask you, do you struggle with grace? Do you struggle with grace towards yourself or towards others? And how has God been gracious to you in your life?